Good evening and welcome to episode 4 of the Above Average Shows podcast. I'm Kyle. And
this is Heath.
And we're here for your listening and viewing pleasure, whichever you choose to. We're not terrible looking guys, but we're getting up there in age.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things actually that we're going to talk about that made me feel really bloody old.
Well, I went to a friend from high school's funeral today, so it made me feel real old because I saw people I hadn't seen in like 25 years. But you start meeting people at like you haven't seen in a long time at funerals now.
Yeah.
And now
you start thinking, who's the next person in the room to go?
I'm hoping it's
you. Start to think how your parents think, right? It's like they go to the funeral and it's like, am I next? Who's next?
Well, anyway. We're not that old, but let's move on to sports.
All right. Well, we're going to talk a little NBA. Commissioner David Stern passed away. We're going to debate a little bit as to whether or not he was the best commissioner possibly ever in pro sports.
That'll be a good debate. We're going to have some NHL, team of the decade. Who is it? Winter Classic. Maybe some trades happening. What are the Habs and Flames doing? Coaching updates.
Some coaching updates. Yeah. And everybody, I would assume most of our listening audience would have watched or and maybe even rewatched some of the World Junior stuff. It's been a week, and in the World Junior tournament, that's a long time. So there's a little bit to break down.
It was an emotional roller coaster, that tournament.
We got to cover the implosion and the explosion versus the Russian team. And there's a few undrafted guys on that team. We talked about how young the team was. There's 5 undrafted guys and with what they possibly did to their draft stock in the tournament. So, yeah, some uppers and downers.
And some CFL news, team of the decade, who is it? Some signings in the NFL and some news from today. Alouettes have new owners.
Yeah, not the CFL.
Huh?
Not the CFL. Some actual owners, which is a good thing. We'll talk about a little bit of that later, and then we'll break down into some of the NFL stuff because we both made some bad picks.
It was a wild card weekend.
It was a wild card weekend. It really came by the
some good games.
Name, honestly, there's still the ever-turning coaching carousel.
It was a tough weekend for 40-plus-year-old quarterbacks.
Yeah, well, a lot of things are tough when you're 40. Getting out of bed's one of them. But there's some rumors on some hirings, and we're going to have our own opinions as to who we think should go where or who would be the best fit where. And we're going to jump in and make more mistakes because we're just average Joes. On
just
picking
above average.
Just above average. Picking a few divisional winners on the next weekend of games here. But anyway, back to the NBA. David Stern, 77. Commissioner from 84?
84.
On to 2000 and
the Michael Jordan draft.
14. Yeah. Talk about a lucky guy.
I think Charles Barkley.
The round mound of rebound. All good. All good. No, he did a lot for the league. 7 new franchises, the G League, WNBA, taking it global, brand.
Making the players the spotlight.
Yeah, and making them definitely get paid. The Jordan brand being part of that.
For sure.
A lot of money, but was he the best ever? Obviously the best in basketball, but was he the best?
Well, where he took that league to what it is now, like, what was I saying? In 1984, they were making league-wide $134 million, I think I read, and now it's $5.5 billion. You could buy a franchise for $5 million. Now the average franchise is $2 billion. That's not too bad.
Not a bad return.
I like how he
investment.
worked his way, like, he was with them not only just as the commissioner for 30 years or 35 years, whatever it was, but he also worked for the league, I think, almost 20 years prior to that.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, he was part of their.
And from every account, he just seemed to know what was happening before it was happening.
Well, I'm going to play devil's advocate on this one, but as much as he did, I think potentially the same amount of growth could be said for the NFL under Paul Tagliabue. franchise values went up, TV contracts went up, player salaries went up. They tried and failed, I guess, at putting the league in, across the pond. But at the same time, they've done a lot for their league. He's done a lot for that league too, in a lot of the same areas. I don't know. I mean, the number one sport in North America in terms of viewership,
for sure,
and dollars is the NFL. So,
right. But globally, the reach of the NBA they have more of a reach, and more every day. I think every year it becomes way more global. So
what point does it rival soccer?
When soccer can take over North America.
I guess. Oh, fair point. I don't know.
When did Tagliabue? When was he done? Was Goodall directly after?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, he was done prior to David Stern's end.
Right.
But
2006.
So not too far off of Stern, but I mean, they had labor unrest and TV contracts to work through. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think
because I don't really like Goodall, so
I don't know. I think the only way I could possibly concede the point is the fact that he did a lot more for like a developmental league in the G League, which means there's more potential pro players and they can develop because not everybody, some guys are later bloomers. So that was the beauty of the NFL having another league that could develop players in that way. But also the women's game too, the WNBA.
Yeah, they were saying it's the only women's professional league that has never folded. It's pretty impressive.
I think, yeah, I guess. No, that's true. Fairly sustainable. But anyway, moving on. Everyone's going to miss Mr. Stern, but whatever. They got a hell of a guy now, so they're in good hands. But a little bit because of the turn of the calendar, turn of the decade, they got some the usual sort of crap comes out, like, oh yeah, here we're team of the decade, that kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
So the Raptors were named the Canadian Press's Team of the Year, and I read that and I'm like,
unsurprising.
Well, that's just stating the obvious, but anyway, I just thought I'd mention it. But
who would be the Team of the Decade in the NBA?
In the NBA,
it's got to be Golden State, right?
You think so?
Doesn't it?
It can't really be the Cavaliers. It couldn't really be the Heat either.
No.
But
it's got to be Golden State.
Yeah, probably. I would. Hard to argue.
They changed the way the game's played.
No, for sure.
Decade.
But anyway, LeBron was named the Player of the Decade, though.
Yeah.
So if he'd have just stayed in damn Cleveland, skipping town,
like Kevin Love.
Wow.
He's having a temper tantrum.
Yeah, he is, but no love for him. No glove, no love.
Is he not an adult? Is he not an adult?
Well, let's be honest. There are some professional players that are not fully functional adults. Antonio Brown. Anyway, but they also named the all-decade team, and it was Curry, your boy, Dwayne Wade, Kawhi.
I like all those guys.
Yeah.
I'd take that team.
LeBron. Yeah, it's a bit of an all-star team. LeBron and Kevin Durant. And as good as that all is,
who's missing? Harden?
That's sort of the thing. Is Russell Westbrook or James Harden guys that
Harden I'd consider.
They had a pretty good decade. I mean,
I'd take Dwayne Wade out if I put in.
You'd put in Harden?
Harden. If I put in Harden. I don't know why that's...
But see, the thing is with him and even with Russell Westbrook, they've both won an MVP. So they got one up on Wade, but Wade has a little bit of jewelry.
Because of LeBron?
Because Chris Bosh.
And what did you call him? The RuPaul of the NBA?
RuPaul of the NBA. I love Shaq, man. If I ever get a chance to talk to that guy, it's going to be a hell of a conversation. But no, I don't know. Dwayne Wade, I love Dwayne Wade. He's gritty. He was a good leader. But was he really that good that he deserves to be on that all-decade team? It's almost like there's no clear-cut guy to be the fifth.
Seeing as the guy who really made him probably on this list is on this list also.
True, fair enough, but I mean, is Kevin Durant Kevin Durant really on that list if it wasn't for Russell Westbrook or Steph Curry?
Yes.
You think so?
Yeah. He's that good.
Fuck. Okay.
He's that good.
You can have that one.
He's that good.
He's such a crybaby.
I know, but he's good though.
7 foot tall Kleenex box. I don't know.
Speaking of the Nets, I think it was the Nets. Is that who the Raptors played the other night?
Yeah.
They have that gray.
Yeah.
That look, unlike Boise State's stupid blue football field, which is hard to watch on TV. It's really hard to watch. Start bugging out unless maybe you're on shrooms or something. But I like that court though. It makes all the uniforms pop. It was actually it almost looks like a video game.
You're all about the optics.
I'm all about the optics. When I'm watching it.
Well, you're red-blooded male, so the visuals are all.
That's right.
That's all we're about. Got to be about the visuals.
That's right.
Anyways,
moving on.
I'll jump to the NHL.
Yay!
Enough about gray parkour or whatever floors. Fucking interior decorating. What are we? Was that channel? The
HGTV.
HGT. Is that what it's called?
I don't know. It's a channel.
The wife watches it all the time. Not on my watch, but whatever. Anyway, same thing.
NHL.
Turn of the calendar, Winter Classic. 85,000 plus in attendance. And we barely get into the game and Corey Perry decides to be Corey Perry. And he knocks Mr. Ellis, who is having one hell of a season. Statistically, probably his best, even though his team actually just fired Mr. Laviolette there a few years, long enough time, head coach this morning, which I think was coming.
It was a pretty vicious elbow.
Yeah. And here's the thing that kind of gets me. Corey Perry comes out and he's like, was unintentional. You watch that in slow-mo. His elbow comes up. He's like, I was reaching for the puck. He didn't extend for the puck. I've played enough hockey. I've watched enough hockey. I know when you're putting in the effort to reach for that puck. And he reached, but not like he should have reached if he really wanted to get a piece of that thing. But he lifts his elbow up as he crosses the path of his head. That was completely intentional. Completely. So to me, like getting the 5 games, all that, I don't know. It was deserved.
It was pretty dirty.
But honestly, all he had to do was just shut the hell up and take his medicine. He made it worse by saying that. Because it's like, he's a bit of a rat. He's a bit of a snarky player. And I don't mind guys that are playing with a little edge. But you go over, just man up and say, hey, I went over the edge. I went a little too far. Whatever. Or say nothing. Just take your medicine, say you're sorry, move on. Yeah. Or let some kid in the front office type something out and put it on social media, right? Some generic thing like, it was unintentional, whatever. Don't have it come out of your mouth. Just say, hey, it happened. I took my medicine, moving on. But that whole, I didn't mean to. You put your elbow up. Don't give me any bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal.
It seemed like a little kid type of explanation, right? Come back to the bench. Why'd you do that? Whoa, shut up.
What did I do?
Yeah, you're just being a moron. Anyway, also talking about Dallas, just recently came out in our, I believe, first podcast. It was about...
Expect me to remember what I did.
You can't remember what you did yesterday. You're so damn old.
Or before this.
Yeah. Anyway, no, Jim Montgomery was fired from the Dallas Stars, and I said, it was kind of vague and didn't really know why. But apparently he went into rehab, so it was not the racism, kicking people, all that kind of rigmarole, even though that seemed to be the thing of the day. So
yeah, well, that's, I guess, good, and he's getting help.
He admitted he had a problem, and he went to rehab, and good on him. Yeah. That's a pretty brave thing to do, so hopefully all the best for him. But he actually came out and said that it was appropriate that they fired him. So good on him. So hopefully he gets the help he needs. See him back in the show.
Yep.
But speaking of you got to be drinking, how do we keep picking up on the Oilers? I don't know. They're shopping around for some D-men. I was pretty harsh on them last time we talked about them, and I said, they got nothing. They got no real prospects outside of PRV. They have a couple, but pretty much everything that they have is on the back end for prospects. So they're shopping D-men. There's some names out there, and Toffoli and Saad and Pajot, and I don't know what it would take to get all of those guys. A little different price tag for all of them, but I'm sorry, Oiler fans, but you did some pretty good drafting to get a few of those good prospects. See it through, let them come up, get rid of some of that dead money, because they're about $5 million worth of dead money now.
That's the hard part for them.
And it's for the next 2 years.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
So that's,
Thank you, Mr. Shirelli.
Exactly. But I mean, Larson is a guy that, they're talking about potentially being on the block. Why? He's a solid defenseman. Yeah, he's not a number one. And that's maybe the thing, is they expect him to be a number one first pairing stud defenseman because they gave up a guy like Hall. He's just not. But he's still, by the books, economically speaking,
right.
He's good value. So keep him. Keep him. Build on it. Groom the young guys. If you don't have something to replace him with that's decent, you can't get rid of him. You should ride it out. And the economics are not unfavorable. We know what unfavorable economics look like in Edmonton. Milan Lucic. Right? So maybe just wait it out. But they said they didn't want to deal off a first-round pick in order to land any kind of forward help. Well, I hate to tell you, but pretty much, out of the three guys I listed, I would say two of them potentially might have to have a first-round pick involved with a prospect defenseman. So, I don't know. I said it before. I'll say it again. Hold tight for 2 years. Clear your cap. Keep developing. Keep picking. And get it straight.
Yeah, they got to feel the pressure, though, right?
And that's the thing. The fan base, some of the deals Shirelli made was all, I got to panic. I got to do something. I got to, right? You don't need to sell newspapers. Who reads a fucking newspaper anymore? Anyway, but you know what I mean, right?
What's a newspaper?
But they don't have to sell papers.
Is that thing I just grab and directly throw it in the recycling?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty much. The one with all the flyers in it. Yeah. Anyway, but no, just wait it out. Clear up that cap money over 2 years. Develop that back end. Draft a few more young guys. Make a couple smart signings. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of going out and getting Pajot. He's going to be the guy that's probably, I think, the most sought after out of the three I listed. There's a couple other names out there I think they could potentially get. But, I mean, they're looking at him as he's a centerman. Well, you want a third center. How about a first-line winger that isn't Draisaitl? Yeah. Why isn't Leon playing center? That's where he's been before. There's your third center. Nuge, him, McDavid. Wow. Anyway, enough about the Oilers. Because they're the only two
that can score.
Enough about the Oilers. But
yes, definitely.
If there's a way to fuck it up, they'll be it. I don't know. Ken Holland has been patient, though, in the past, so maybe he'll be patient here. I hope so, because that fan base is almost Leaf-like, a little crazy, a little short-sighted.
Well,
they want to win now.
Any team that had sustained success, their fan base becomes used to it. The Leafs just...
When have the Oilers or the Leafs had sustained success?
The 80s and the 60s.
Holy cow. Live in the past much?
Hey.
Got to go back in time. Marty McFly. Anyway, the Blackhawks.
There was my density.
Yeah. There's a little information that came out just because of the same thing, turn of the calendar, whatever. Team of the decade. Who would you have thought was the team of the decade?
Penguins.
That would have been my guess. And that's hard for me to say. I'm a Flyers fan. Cindy Crosby. I get little...
Speaking of yesteryear...
I twist little kids' brains up when I go to the rink all the time. They're like, I'm a Crosby fan. You mean Cindy Crosby? The Kleenex guy? Shut up. I'm telling my dad. Okay, whatever. Anyway, no, I get partially why the Blackhawks are there. They had a lot of success, but it seems so long ago. Does it not?
Matt...
Yep.
Can you look up for me, because I can't remember what years and how many cups in the last decade those two teams?
I believe it's 2 each.
Is it just 2 each?
Yeah. Penguins and what?
Blackhawks.
Okay.
But anyway, while we're waiting on Matt, it's that recency sort of effect that seems to get people to say that's the team of the year, of the decade, that kind of thing.
Right.
I was a little shocked it was the Blackhawks. I like the Blackhawks personally more than the Penguins by far. But a couple of cups each. Most often it's the recency bias of fans.
Chicago Blackhawks had 2010, 2013, and 2015.
There you go.
3 cups.
So 10. Yeah, I guess if you count 2010. Yeah.
And the Penguins had 2.
Yeah. So there you go. Case closed.
Okay. There we go.
But
now I know
what I'm saying with the recency bias, right? So anyway, I was kind of happy because, Crosby won every other goddamn thing. So
yeah, he's doing all right.
Yeah, he's doing all right. Go away. Go away, Sid.
Oh,
anyway.
Covey.
Oh, you like Covey? Them damn Russians.
I don't know. What do you think? It's cheap.
Yeah, well.
If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Are you Mark Bergevin's cousin, or?
I am. I'm learning French. Alouettes no, we'll get there later.
I don't know. They think they're going to just jump him into the lineup and he'll play. And yeah, he'll play, but you hear all the talking heads on network TV and they're like, oh, he'll help their power play. I don't know that I want a 36-year-old who basically got shoved out of the worst team in the league jumping onto my power play.
Yeah, probably not. Maybe work him in a bit.
It reeks a little bit of desperation, but I mean, hopefully it works out for them. But I don't know. They have a lot of injuries. I think that's the only reason he's there.
Well, it's cheap.
He's just a warm body with NHL experience that they can put in, and he'll be okay.
It's zero risk on their end.
The whole idea, he's going to help the power play and the playoff push and did it. Oh my God. Come on. He's 36 and he's all about himself. So the second everybody gets healthy and he becomes a third line winger,
well, then he's
going to pout and leave.
You just discard him.
I go back to Russia, drink vodka.
Well, like I said, it's his last opportunity.
Anyway, whatever.
Is that too much on Covey?
Maybe. But anyway, yeah, no. Montreal's 13th in the East right now. So what's that? What is that going to do for you? You'll get to what? 12th? 11th?
Maybe.
You're not making the playoffs. Your team is fundamentally flawed. You do not have the assets to go get anything that'll put you over the top.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, whatever. They're probably firing that GM anyway at the end of the year. It's about time. Anyway, the Flames dealt a little salary cap dump with Frolik. Dump off $4 million off the books to the Sabres. I think the Flames got something brewing. They're dumping cap space. They want to shake up their core.
Let's ask our resident Flames fan what he thinks.
Yeah, let's ask him. Matty.
I'm hearing the same thing.
Yeah. And who would you like that's out on the market to bring in? Or is it going to... They said they want someone with terms, so I don't know if it's all the usual trade kind of candidates, the expiring contract guys. So maybe they shake up and go get somebody big name, big contract. I don't know.
I hear they're looking for somebody similar to what James Neal was supposed to be.
Supposed to be like a good hockey player? Or
Why, top 6 forward.
Top 6 power forward type, scoring forward. Well, it'll be interesting. Travis Hamonic and Sam Bennett are the two names that keep getting floated. I'm not sure what they think they're going to get in return for those two. They're both solid players, but...
Especially Benny.
Yeah.
He's really settled into that role.
Yeah, and I don't know, they got a pretty big backlog of D-men with Hamonic, right? So I guess they can give him up, but what's he really worth? Hard to say. You're going to have to package that up somehow, I think, and try to figure out a way to convince somebody to give you a big name. But I don't know who's out there that is a big name with term that they could add and really be proud of giving up a bunch for, because they're sitting 9th in the West last time I checked.
Well, yeah, they made some big ads in this off season,
yeah, and
and
it's not going quite as that big physically, right? That's all you mean? not a score sheet big. Anyway, I don't know. 9th in the West. I don't know. Same thing as the Oilers. Maybe you're better to miss the playoffs, pick a little better, clean up some salary, make the off-season deals.
Play for the future.
Play for the future. Because that core is still pretty young.
I think they played above their heads last season.
Yeah, me too.
And it showed when they got into the playoffs.
Yeah, totally. So, young guys take a little time to get the experience. So, that's maybe all they're doing. They're just taking some bumps. So, anyway, screw the Flames.
I don't care about the Flames.
Yeah, I don't care about no stinking Flames. Anyway, and the last bit of NHL or hockey related. Well, we got World Juniors, right? So
that's later.
Anyway, but did you hear about the guys in Richmond Hill? No. 2 guys. One got arrested, but both went to the hospital, and they got in a stick swinging fight on, of all places, Crosby Avenue. Yeah.
Like playing some street hockey.
Oh my gosh.
It can get pretty intense.
The most Canadian thing ever, hey?
It can get pretty intense,
Pretty intense. So, I don't know. They didn't release names. I looked for, I went to...
You looked for relatives?
No, I don't have relatives in Richmond Hill. But I was looking on, their police website and that kind of stuff to see if I could get names of these guys, because I'm
You're going to invite them on the show?
Maybe. Why not, right? After they're bandaged up. Well, one's going to jail, maybe. He's arrested, so we'd only have room for one. But I was like, who the hell are these guys? So, Oglethorpe. Ogie Oglethorpe. But the most Canadian thing ever. I'm sure after that guy gets out of jail or the other guy, they both get out of the hospital, they'll go out for a beer together.
For sure.
They're probably buddies.
Sorry, eh?
Yeah.
Want a Molson?
Yeah. Anyway, World Juniors. Lots happened because we only do this every week. And
boy, that was a good week.
It was a lot to digest, hey?
So much happened.
Yeah. Anyway, Canada did look pretty sharp after the Russian implosion.
Yeah, the debacle. Chicago.
I don't know. I shouldn't say I don't know all the time because I have an opinion pretty much for everything. But anyway, no, the Russians out Canadianed us is kind of what happened.
Straight to the gold medal match. Is that the only important thing?
Hey, yeah, maybe it is.
Because you weren't sure that they should have pulled Dawes for Hofer.
Hofer, yeah, I was a little tore on that one. I actually think Nico Dawes is I still think he's a good goalie.
Oh, I'm sure he is a good goalie.
He very much is, but I think he was kind of in a bit of an unfortunate circumstance, and didn't really get the help. But I don't know, there's that calming influence of certain guys being between the pipes, right?
I love that kid's style.
It's pretty calm, pretty collected. The moment never seemed too big, did it?
No, but just I love the way he guarded the crease and just his movement, very methodical.
Yeah.
Not a lot of flopping
over-moving. And
Susie, soccer goalie over there for the Russians.
Oh, the Russians.
Oh, God.
Did you know he's a two-sport athlete? He's on the dive team. No, I had to say it. Sorry.
He's a flip-flopper.
Oh, my God.
Oh, God.
Anyway, like a dead fish. Russian dead fish. I don't know.
Yeah, that was an implosion.
I don't want to know what that smells like, but
that was an implosion.
It was. Well, and part of it is, they're young kids.
Thank you, TSN camera.
Thank you, TSN camera. Assist. I was saying it today at work. I was like, somebody should have gave an assist to that damn camera. Literally, mark it in the scorebox.
The Beaverton did.
The Beaverton did. Yeah. Well,
that was hilarious.
Yeah. Totally got me off my train of thought here. Nico Dawes, Hofer.
No, we were talking about the implosion of the Russian team.
Right, but they're young kids, right? But how is it that the Russian teams in general seem to have these issues? Because I believe it was it them or the Americans or maybe both in past Olympics, they completely trashed dressing rooms. The American team, I believe, Chelios and the boys, trashed a hotel. But whatever. Straight cash, homie. How do you pay that fine?
Why? Did the Americans trash something or the Russians trash something this time?
No, but the implosion, the mentally not being able to get past certain hurdles, right? So losing your shit when maybe you shouldn't be. But I can understand how they were a little pissed maybe with the camera thing. Yeah. But Canada doesn't write the rules, though, either. The refs know the rules.
You know what? Potato, we got that
you
one.
You can make those both into vodka, by the way.
Exactly. But they got that hooking penalty that was not a goddamn hooking penalty.
Yeah, that was probably a weak call. And realistically, they had every opportunity in the beginning of that game. That first period, they had opportunities galore to score, get ahead, and dictate the tempo and the flow of that game from there on in, and they didn't.
I really thought that the second period that they actually looked a little faster than the Canadians.
Yeah.
It looked like the Canadians were slowing down. I was like, okay, this is not... And then...
They're making their push, yeah.
Then it just turned on in the third.
Yeah, well, and from the first game to the second game, I don't know if many people noticed, but I don't know, me being... maybe a little bit of a traditionalist.
Above average.
Slightly above average. Depends.
We didn't say how much above average.
Depends on the lighting.
Just above average.
But the first game, we didn't skate hard. We didn't check hard like we usually do. And that's a kind of a Canadian staple. And they seemed to outdo us in those two. But
for sure.
There was a little more chip and chase.
Not in this game.
But yeah, like just leaning on people and getting leverage and angles on pucks was way better in that second game. And they seemed a little more committed, but it's pretty strange how that very first game, Lafreniere's out there as the high-scoring guy that he is, and he's hitting people. Like half his highlight clip was him hitting people, which is pretty impressive, right? So, I mean, it was easy for everybody to get in on the act when one guy's leading the charge, right? So,
for sure.
You know, same thing maybe with that final. Their captain comes back, has a mangled up shoulder, everything else. Like
that's what you want out of your captain.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he's an Arizona pick. Yeah, he is. He's first round pick of the Yotes.
Of the Yotes.
I'll say that very Saskatchewan-like for you all. Now I'm talking like Trudeau. Anyway. It was very inspiring.
That's very Canadian of you.
Very Canadian. But I mean, if he's out there, he's hitting people and he's hurt. And you could see him wince when he shot and doing stuff.
Still a hell of a wrist shot for a guy with a bad wing.
That was a schnipe. My middle guy is 13, and that's all he said. He put up his hands and he yelled, yes! And then he yelled schnipe. So
my favorite part of the World Juniors, besides that game, was the mid-period interviews with these players. I can't not think of Letterkenny when I see those guys.
me.
Just like, oh man, it's like, it's all the cliches. Yeah.
As long as they
110%. We're going to go back in there.
Yeah. It's not me, it's the team. Anyway, but looking at some of the other games though too, I was a little bit shocked to see the Finns lose to the Swiss at the end of the round robin.
Oh yeah.
And then they turn around and the U.S. and the Finns have to play, and the Finns beat them narrowly. But anyway, I mean, you can say what you want about offensive hockey and the entertainment value. If you know what you're looking at, a 1-0 hockey game is still a good hockey game.
If you know what you're looking at.
Right. And sure. I mean, there was end-to-end action. You know, it wasn't like it was trap, slow. Like they were going, they were hitting. It was really good hockey. But I mean, having that ending though too, who doesn't feel good when the States loses? I'm sorry, I do. Like when you saw
my
the
American
Finns,
friends out there, yes, we do.
Well, when
we
you
feel real good about. It's like when you're. Well, I don't know. I'm an older brother. I guess it would feel like when your little brother beats you up, which I'm not sure that's ever happened, but I'm sure it could. But
fake news. It could happen.
It could happen.
But
nice Team Canada.
Yeah, you like the Team Canada? I love that. It's my fave. And I always put it in my pocket right in front of my heart.
It's a good place to
Does
have
that make me corny?
Makes you bulletproof.
Well, not as corny as Pierre Maguire eating a hot dog.
Oh my God.
Worst picture ever. Pierre, it'll haunt you forever. And just so you know, I'll make sure it does. Anyway, no, I like watching the States lose just because of the rivalry, watching the Russians lose because of the rivalry. I can actually stomach seeing the Finns win a gold or the Swedes win a gold. It bugs me. We don't, but if it's sort of like your best friend wins instead of you, you're like, I'm okay with it, right?
Yeah.
But when the Russians win, you're like, that son of a bitch. I don't like him.
That's how it works.
Can't be a Russian guy.
That's how it works.
Can't be a Russian guy.
Just like you can't be a Bomber fan.
You can't be a Bomber fan. Right. Exactly.
You just can't.
The Argos win the Grey Cup.
Yeah, sure. I'd rather have that.
Sure. It's not us. I guess somebody has to win it. But if the Bombers win it, you're like, son of a... We
have to enjoy their win for a few more months.
Yeah, well, and then it'll be 30 more years.
That's the good thing about it.
And by that age, I probably won't remember who's even in the league.
That's right.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a nail biter, but another guy I like to just mention is Akil Thomas. I for years have always loved the bottom of the roster guys that don't get a ton of ice time. And they probably should. Like, you kind of got to keep your studs rested enough, right? Like, you overplay them in the big games a little bit, but they still need a little bit of air. And I always love it when a coach throws that guy over the wall who's been sitting for a while, and he just goes, screw it, I don't know what my next shift is. I'm going for it, right? And he went for it, like, big time. That was a hell of a goal. But more the point is, like, for him to score it, because if you'd have been betting in Vegas as to who would have scored that goal, his odds are pretty long, right? So, I don't know. I really enjoyed seeing a not big name score the goal. Like, as good as Crosby's golden goal was, things like that where a big name guy scores that big name goal, Gretzky, Lemieux, all that.
Kind of like when Eberle had his...
Right, but he was a big name on that team.
Yeah, I suppose.
Like, he wasn't a third, fourth liner guy kind of guy, right? So, I don't know. I just kind of tickles the cockles of my heart.
Oh,
I don't have any.
Heart.
Yeah, fake news. Anyway, yeah. And then kind of want to talk about those 5 undrafted guys. I said at the very beginning of the tournament that I think Lafreniere, Byfield, it's going to be interesting, but Byfield's kind of got a bad situation with being a centerman regularly and being moved to the wing. But whose draft stock went up? Lafreniere's?
It's for sure.
Can it go up? You're already the first overall.
I guess. I guess it doesn't go up.
He is number 1 with a bullet.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess what it did is remove all doubt.
He went, in my mind, from like very good, scoring hockey player. Like, you'd expect to get in the top, or the beginning of the first round somewhere. But he went into that like franchise type player and separated himself from everybody else because he's probably the only one in the draft you could peg with that title. So he did well. We all know that. That's stating the obvious. But
Who else?
Dawson Mercer was a first-round grade, and I don't know that he did a ton, but he didn't do horrible. His name wasn't mentioned a lot, but he was involved. He was out there. But they have a first-round grade on him from Central Scouting. And I'm not sure. I think he might be if he's first, it's very late first, but I think he's probably second round. Probably second round. And Jamie Drysdale, he's a first rounder for sure. And I think he reinforced why at the tournament. But Mr. Byfield has a first round grade and he did nothing. He had 1 point.
I hardly remember him playing, actually.
Well, in the last few games, he didn't play a whole lot. He was kind of shuffled back in the deck somewhere, and yeah, I don't know. It's kind of crazy, but I mean, talented kid, but they're all talented kids. And the whole notion of at the beginning of the tournament that those two are going to be 1-2, and then you look at the end of the tournament and you're like, this guy's not even top 5.
Well, some people would tell you that, well, it doesn't matter. It's just one tournament. That doesn't say how that player's going to, but it does.
Wow. Same thing happens in the NHL, though.
That's what I mean. It does.
It's just one playoff series.
No, it shows. It shows. If you disappear on the big stage, then your stock would have to go down.
Potentially, he'll come back next year, and he'll be that much better for it. And yeah, he's probably still a first rounder. a 6'5" center that can move with skill is probably going to get drafted. Sometimes overdrafted, but still drafted. But I don't think he's the number 2.
Quarterbacks get overdrafted all the time.
Number 2 at all. Well, there'll be a few of those we talk about. But anyway, we
got to be getting there soon, right?
I just don't know how far he falls. Like, I don't think he's in the top 5 anymore. Now, does he fall to the 10 sort of area? I don't know. It depends who's picking.
Yeah.
But I think he...
Well, he certainly didn't help himself.
No, he didn't. And then the other guy was Nico Dawes. He's got a 4th, 5th, 6th round rating on him from Central Scouting.
I don't think he hurt himself, but I don't think he really helped himself.
Well, just for context, Hofer was a 4th round pick last year in the draft. And he obviously outshone him. He's a year older. He should, to some degree.
I'd say in the same area.
Yeah, I really don't know. It's gonna be one of those guys. I think you look at the tape and you kind of go, yeah, when it mattered, or wasn't so good. But when you look at the rest of his tape, and I've watched a little bit of his stuff with his club team, he's outstanding. So which guy am I getting? And if I put him in the pressure, is he going to revert to,
Sounds like a goalie the Oilers would want.
Fucking goalies, man. This guy's a goalie. Hey, he's wired like one some days. You know what? Out of probably my 5 best friends,
they're all goalies?
3 of them are goalies. The hell is it with me?
We're all looking for good defensemen?
Yeah. You just want a big guy to stand there and block half the shots for you.
Of course we do.
A face like this, it's proof I have.
Get this guy out of my crease.
But I think Nico Dawes is probably a 5th or 6th rounder.
Think he'll drop that much? Only time will tell.
He has some doubts that crept into what's going on. And it'll be interesting to see if his confidence got wrecked in any way from here till the end of his season when he goes back to his main club team.
Oh, and you were all on the Dawes train coming in.
I was. I still think he's a good goalie, but a goalie with no confidence is, useless.
Yeah, well, he didn't really get a chance to redeem himself either, so...
Yeah, well...
Sometimes you have a shitty night.
Screw redemption.
Sometimes you have a shitty night.
Anyway. Okay, we're done with hockey. We won gold. That's all that matters. Moving up. CFL, Team of the Decade. Same question as the other crap. Other sports subject matter. Team of the Decade.
Stampeders?
Oh, my God. Yeah, I knew you'd say Stampeders. I knew you would.
Who else can it be?
I knew you would.
Okay.
Who
should it be?
I knew you would. Because I think deep down...
That I'm a Stampeders fan?
Yep.
No, I would really love my organization
He's got a rider tattoo on his arm, and I think secretly on his computer somewhere, he's got a way to turn that in.
No, you don't know where my Bo Levi tattoo is.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
No, I am not a Stamps fan. But I do like how their organization runs. I'm a Hufnagel fan, though.
It's all coming out, folks. It's all coming out.
But I like how our team's going.
If you need to come out of the closet, folks, it's all good.
This is where you come to come out of your...
We're all good for it. But if you come out and say you're a Stamps fan...
Stamps.
You may not be forgiven right away.
Who else is the Team of the Decade?
Why not the Toronto Argonauts?
I was considering them.
You snickered. I saw it.
I was considering them.
They did win a couple of cups.
They did.
Which is weird to say their name because realistically, they've sucked for a few years now.
They sucked in the years that they won the cups. But they
did win 2 cups, and that's one more than Hamilton won. Yeah, it is, technically. Hamilton's made the dance more often, but... Is it the Argos?
It could be the Argos. Thank you, Eric Tillman, for trading Ricky Ray to Toronto.
Ray. Yeah, anyway. Ricky Ray.
So, yeah, moving on.
All right. Well, speaking of Ricky Ray, well, not Ricky Ray in particular, but another quarterback. What do you think of the Masoli deal?
I actually applaud Hamilton for doing it. I didn't think they were going to. I didn't think they'd get him before looking into free agency.
Okay. If you're Masoli, why don't you go to free agency?
I don't know. I'm surprised.
When Mike Riley's getting 700.
Do we know what he got?
I don't know what he got, but it won't be that long and it would come out. But I mean, if he's getting 600-700, that kind of number leaks. It ends up out there. I don't think he got 600.
Do you think he's
and I think if he'd
not
got
coming
to
back till halfway through season kind of thing? He's not.
Well, the thing with him going back there, I think personally, it's a very safe place to go back because he knows the system. He knows what is expected, right? He has a good team, but he has time to make sure he's right, 100% right before he goes back in. Is he going to go back in and get his job back?
I think it's
what did Evans do that was so bad?
Nothing. I would have. If I had Evans as my quarterback, I would totally be doing the NFL method of taking all that money and you load up everywhere else. Like he's under contract for I think another
year,
2 years,
2 years potentially. Yes,
I think he had a 2 and an option at like a ridiculously low cap.
So it's safe for Masoli, but if you're Evans, what are you thinking?
Well, you're probably worried about your job.
A little pissed. You're sitting on the bench, and after all you did, and the whole league.
I'm sure they've told them both.
Look across the league and tell me who doesn't need a quarterback.
I'm sure they've told them that they're both going to get an opportunity.
But there's a number of teams that could use a quarterback.
Masoli.
And I think Masoli, given what he's done.
Well, I'd almost guarantee he left money on the table.
He had to have.
For sure.
He had to have. I don't like him re-signing there.
Well,
not now.
If I was his agent, I wouldn't be.
Why not go and just see what the hell?
Maybe Brandon Banks and him are so close that he wants to win a championship for Brandon Banks.
That's a guy I don't want to be close to. Bumped his head a few times.
Talk about a guy who doesn't come to the table in the biggest games.
Well, fair enough. Fair enough. Anyway. Yeah, speaking of big games.
That was a lot on Hamilton.
Well, fair enough. I don't like Masoli not going to free agency. Why not? Why not wait one more month? I'm not saying don't go back there, but make sure you get every damn dollar that you can possibly get. Career's short enough. Get paid, young man. Get paid. Anyway, whatever. That's their problem.
Maybe he doesn't have confidence.
Maybe they'll come here for Grey Cup and we'll just whoop their ass again.
Maybe he doesn't have confidence in himself and somebody else's system. It's possible.
Then he's not a winner. A winner finds a way.
What has he won? Regular season wins mean nothing. Which once we get into NFL, that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of winning, Montreal
finally
resurrected, and I think it's a win for the league and them being sold and getting a couple of Toronto businessmen. They made their money in the steel market.
In Quebec.
Yeah.
So they know the market.
Yeah.
I heard their first order of business is
they
to
know
hire
Trump's tariffs on steel, so
is to hire a president and a GM.
That's why they called it off.
That speak
because we
French.
sat down the one day and I'm like, why would you call it off? You need a GM. You're like, yeah, you need a GM. Yeah.
Apparently 2 days after the Grey Cup, they started working on this deal.
Well, hopefully it means good things for them, but I think they do definitely need to. As much as they bought a brand new toy, I hope they keep their hands off of some things, though, too. Mm-hmm. Let the football people be football people.
Jones
but how much do you think that cost the league to own that team and run that team?
What is the operating budget of a CFL team?
Well, I mean, just overall, anytime it's ever happened in the past, it's always
like 10, 25 million.
It's always a bit of a money lose for the league. They don't quite
for sure
do it, but it never really got any numbers, so it couldn't have been that bad, I guess.
It'll all come from the other teams, right?
Yeah.
Just split
so, anyway, also wanted to talk a little bit about the Arbuckle deal. What do you think of that?
I think it's good for Ottawa, and I think they got him for pretty much nothing.
Well,
was a third rounder?
Yeah, but do you know what the conditional pick was?
Nope.
If he re-signs there, they swap first-round picks. Ottawa's picking 1st overall. Calgary's picking 6th. 1st overall is cream of the crop, but in the CFL draft, that
by
first
whose
overall,
measurement?
well, the first overall pick is
Josiah St. John.
most often a flop or a guy who never does show up sometimes.
But if somebody can do it, it'd be Huffer.
I thought that was a pretty unique swap. So,
well, yeah, that makes it a better deal for Calgary.
I think Arbuckle signs there, and I think Huffnagel knows he would sign there, and
sure.
that's why he makes that deal.
For sure.
But is that too much? 1st overall?
Not when you know how important
and then a third.
You know how important a quarterback is.
Dropping 5 spots in the 1st round and a 3rd round pick.
You don't have a quarterback.
What's he worth?
Like
he's proven
dollar
enough.
Value?
Proven enough. I think he's probably 2-3 years.
I would assume you give Arbuckle a similar deal-ish to Cody Steele. Maybe a little less with incentives.
An
because
MLP candidate.
Arbuckle played the whole season. He could have had just as good a season. He was playing well.
He's a Stamps fan.
He didn't have a sprinkle of Jesus, but he played pretty well.
He's a Stamps fan. You hear this?
Fucking Stamps fan.
He's a Stamps fan.
No, I'm a CFL
he thinks
fan.
Nick Arbuckle is the equivalent of
I never said
Cody
equivalent.
Fajardo. Well, you just compared him to the MOP candidate, saying
dollar
they're
value.
similar.
I thought we got a pretty good deal.
Equals,
I think we got a really good deal on Cody.
So now he's slamming the Riders, saying we pick through the bargain bin for our quarterback. He's one of those $5 DVDs.
You thought so too.
Some old Cheech and Chong movie. Yeah. Anyway, I thought it was a pretty good coup for Mr. LaPolice to get going. It puts Jennings and who's the other fella there?
Dominic Davis.
Yeah, puts them on the market, and that kind of makes the market intriguing because now you've got Bethel Thompson, you've got Franklin, you've got those two, Jennings and Dom. We've got 6 quarterbacks out there that all have some CFL experience, right? So who the hell's Winnipeg signing? Because off that list of 6...
They're signing Nichols.
Well, I almost think...
And Strevler.
Nichols. Come on. He's the Joe Flacco of the CFL.
Yeah, they won a cup now. It doesn't matter.
But he didn't even win it.
They can do whatever for the next...
He didn't even win it.
Well, Claris will be out there too. Or are you assuming he's going to Toronto?
I think he might go to Toronto. But there's a new guy there. There's a new sheriff in town. Is Caleros his guy? I don't know. I wouldn't say for sure. It's going to be interesting because me personally, you've got a title to defend and you've made no moves to up your quarterback situation.
Well, I wouldn't take Franklin or Jennings.
Franklin's got some talent. He just doesn't work hard.
No, he's not a real quarterback.
He'll work hard in getting to his 3rd plate at the buffet.
He'll work hard to make sure his teeth are nice and shiny.
Well, fair enough. But I actually think if Winnipeg has, and hear me out, if Winnipeg has...
Listen to me now, believe me later.
Believe me later. If you think Winnipeg has any inclination in trying to defend that title they just won, and there'll be pressure. I think Bethel Thompson's the best on the market. He threw for yardage. He can move the chains. He's a veteran guy. He's been around. He's not a young pup. I would trust him more than Nickel or Caleros.
Caleros?
Yeah. He can play the game. And he can play all the games. Caleros can play the game, but is he going to play all the games? Doubtful. I think he's the best in the market. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I wouldn't feel comfortable.
I'm going to call it right now.
I wouldn't feel comfortable with Franklin, Bethel Thompson,
If
Jennings.
Winnipeg can go and get Bethel Thompson, they can do some damage next year.
Do they still have
and
Strevler?
make the playoffs. I don't care if they have Strevler. The reason Strevler was successful is because LaPolice made sure to scheme well and get him in there and use him the best he could. Well, Lapo was not there. I don't know that I'd trust the next guy to do the same.
I thought you were in love with Strevler.
No. I'm just saying he's
Closet Winnipeg fan.
He's a useful player, but you still got to use him right. So, me personally, if they sign any other quarterback out of those 6, other than Bethel Thompson, they will be last in the West. You heard it here first.
I will put a coffee on Nichols being their opening day quarterback.
And I will bet you 2 coffees.
That is Bethel Thompson?
No, that if they do, they're last. They will be last in the West.
Well, no, I don't want to take that bet.
Because you'll have to cheer for him like you do the Stamps.
I cheer for everyone.
Yeah, you're like Jesus, you love them all. Doesn't want to answer.
Does he really love them all? He says he does.
Speaking not just of Ottawa, but the Arbuckle deal, Benavides was hired to be the DC there. I think that's a really good ad. For sure. Really good ad. Lapo can focus on his side of the ball. Exactly. Veteran guy. I like what they're doing in Ottawa. So anyway, speaking of Stampeders, this one's going to hurt. No, it's not, because you're a Stamps fan. Beggleton signed a futures contract with the Packers.
I'm a Packers fan.
Right. So now you can wear that Beggleton jersey you've been hiding in your closet.
Oh, I sleep in it.
You sleep in it. I'm sure you do. I don't want to know what else you do with it. But I know for a fact if he buys a jersey next year, folks, and it's a Packers jersey, I'll bet it says Beggleton on the back.
It will not say
Beggleton. It will. It will.
It'll say Lizard.
Lizard. I'm going to make it Lizard. Lizard. They only got 2 guys who can catch the ball.
Lizard.
Your great quote from last week. That's going to haunt you. I'm never going to let him forget, folks.
Well, it's true. I'm really worried, man. Are we on to NFL?
Yeah, let's go to the NFL. Seeing as your boy Beggleton went and signed in the NFL. There's some coaching carousel. You want to do some coaching stuff first?
Let's start with coaching.
Because
how about the coaching move of the day?
The move of the day?
McCarthy to the Cowboys.
Oh, my God. Did McCarthy learn anything in his year off?
No. Maybe. I doubt it. I don't know. He's old now. Do we really change at that age?
Pick a thing.
Isn't he like the same age as us? Like, oh, no, I'm older than you.
No, he's closer to 50.
Okay. I'm close to 50.
I'm close to 40. That's why I'm handsome. Anyway,
which side are you close to?
Yeah. Anyway, no. The hard part with McCarthy is it's still the Jerry show. It's still going to be about Jerry.
It's always going to be about Jerry.
And if Jerry doesn't shut up and take a back seat, it's going to just be a ticking time bomb. Now, Mike McCarthy, they didn't have an offensive problem. They moved the ball.
Weren't they the number 1 offense?
No. I think they were 6th.
I thought they were
Baltimore was first, I believe.
Something they were number 1 in anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, they threw the ball well. Dak had a good completion percentage, touchdown to interception ratio.
Had some shitty games down the stretch.
All the main measurables were there, right? So they didn't have an offensive problem. I'm not saying keep Jason Garrett, but Kellen Moore was the OC calling the plays. He'll
still be the OC calling the plays.
So why did you need an offensive guy?
Or do you think that they'll get rid of Moore? Because I think Jerry's going to tell him...
Well, if you're Mike McCarthy, don't you want to call your own system?
Which
Not system? Just call the plays, but have your own system.
Which system? Because Dak ain't running Aaron Rodgers' Packers system.
Well, part of the system was scramble around and make something out of nothing. Yeah, Dak can scramble around and make something out of nothing. A little bit.
Good point.
But at the same time, how do you take that job as Mike McCarthy if you don't get to put your system in? What redeemable quality outside of being an OC that knows that side of the ball and having your system work well in other places, what redeemable quality does he have?
He's quiet.
So he doesn't interrupt Jerry's press conference?
Exactly.
Jesus Christ. And they hired Mike Nolan to be the DC there, which was a good hire. And if you recall, Nolan was the head coach in San Fran. Matty loved that, hey?
Of course.
Of course. San Fran. And who was his OC? Mike McCarthy. And who did he pick? Alex Smith, first overall. So it's just a reunion of a former failed experiment, I guess. But Mike Nolan's a good DC. Why didn't you hire Marvin Lewis?
Why are you interviewing Marvin Lewis?
Well, I think it was to cover the Rooney Rule. That's it. He was the token dude. That's it. But at the same time, Marvin Lewis was straddled with pretty shitty quarterback play for a long time, still managed to eke into the playoffs, still had some years where he had a respectable defense. He had cheap-ass owners, right? A literal ma and pa front office. So, I don't know. They needed more help on the defensive side. Lewis is a defensive guy. I mean, he has every bit of a fit, maybe even more so than McCarthy in some ways, unless McCarthy learned something in that time off. I didn't see a veteran coach going there. I just didn't.
So
it's a little toxic for you as a coach.
Was Urban Meyer not interested?
Wasn't interviewed.
Because he wasn't interested?
They wanted a veteran guy, and it sounds like that's all they did was go after veteran guys, interview-wise, and that was it. Done.
So why wouldn't you wait and go after Josh McDaniels?
Josh McDaniels would laugh. I think he would honestly. That was my theory. That he would go there, but just seeing the way this went down, the fact that their OC is not even fired. McDaniels would want to run his own system, and that kid he's put in his time, and everybody wants him. He's going to be able to have probably a better selection of teams than Mike McCarthy did, right? So,
didn't you find it weird that they were interviewing head coaches and they still hadn't decided if they were firing Garrett?
Jay Glazer had a strange tweet. I don't know if anybody out there saw it, but he tweeted that Jason Garrett was going to allow the Dallas Cowboys to fire him.
What?
Yeah. It's like, who does he have shares that we don't know about? What's going on? What is going on? It was a strange. It's like he's fired, but he allowed the Cowboys to fire him.
What pictures does Jason Garrett have of Jerry Jones?
I don't know, man, but it can't be good. Can't be good.
Wow.
But that was it was a strange tweet I read, but anyway, I don't know why McCarthy takes that job other than he wants to get back in, and there's definitely talent there. So there's the potential that he can come in and at least make a run. But
and it's the Cowboys.
Fair enough, but I don't know. If I was a guy with his resume and having a Super Bowl ring, I think I would have held out for potentially a little more control. At least be able to put in your own offense.
Yeah, but no matter what happens, in McCarthy's legacy, he's a Super Bowl champ that coached for the Green Bay Packers and the Dallas Cowboys. And everybody, at the end of the day, no matter what happens, they're going to blame Jerry Jones.
Well, Jerry's going to blame you.
You're still going to get paid, man.
Yeah, well, it was a 5-year deal. All right.
Straight cash, homie.
Straight cash, homie.
Sometimes, hey, this is like Masoli. He's like, who's going to pay me?
Yeah, well, at least get to the market and find out. I don't know. It's a crazy one, and as far as I'm concerned, it's going to be typical Jerry world, and there'll be drama, and you got to watch every week to see how it plays out.
That's what the league wants.
That's what the league wants. They want a little bit of drama, and Jerry's more than happy to provide. But how he thinks he's on the path to a Super Bowl, I guess he'll have to just buy tickets.
Him and Dan Schneider.
He'll just have to buy tickets. Anyway,
happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Another team I was kind of interested in, and it kind of two teams actually where it kind of slowed down were the Giants and Carolina. Matt Rule is in the mix in both those, and it seems like he's the favorite with the Giants.
Yeah.
But no news. Like, they haven't really interviewed anybody. There's been no rumors, no nothing. They brought him in. I believe they brought in a couple of other guys. Like, it was like 3 guys, sort of the same as Cowboys. 3 guys. Back to the Cowboys. They interviewed. Sorry, they didn't interview, but they called Jeff Fisher. You just went 8-8, and you're calling the king of 8-8. You like Dak Prescott, and you want to know what he's worth?
Oh yeah.
Well, go ahead and pay him $35 million, and then bring in Jeff Fisher.
Because he's a quarterback guru, that guy.
Oh, sure he is, yeah. everything in Jerry world would be shit on. He wouldn't just shit the bed.
Wow.
Right in the middle under the Jumbotron. Big dump. Anyway, no, Matt Rule probably is the front runner. It looks like he's the front runner. I'm not sure what the Giants are thinking personally. Maybe you can figure it out.
I haven't known what the Giants have been doing for about the last
But you just fired that guy with 2 years under his belt, who had nothing to work with, who's a first-time head coach at the NFL level. Rule has rebuilt a couple programs at the collegiate level, but he's not an NFL guy. He's unproven. We had a guy who was unproven and an offense that was doing all right despite its deficiencies in some areas.
Yeah.
How are you ahead? And why go get an inexperienced guy?
Especially in that market.
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure why he's the front runner. I'm really not sure. The game is changing, granted, and they want these offensive kind of wizardry guys, but I don't know. Big market, put a name there. You've got a couple young guys. You need people who can probably manage that and have a track record of managing that. So anyway, I don't understand why he's the front runner. But anyway, good on the Giants. Whatever. Fill your boots. Keep the NFC East the way it is. Full of shit.
I have no problem with it.
I have no problem with it. It's just an odd one. But Carolina, like I said before, I think Carolina is probably the most appealing option out there with a head coaching vacancy. They have a brand new owner. Well, they have a brand new owner who's deep pockets. He seems like a pretty stable guy, right?
I think you gotta like Cam though, if you take that job.
Do you?
I think so.
So now that the Cowboys' job's filled and it ain't McDaniels, what if McDaniels goes there?
Brady follows?
Brady follows. Young weapons, great weapons. Curtis Samuel's a good receiver. They've got a good young tight end and they've got a number one receiver in Moore.
I don't think Brady's going to that kind of market.
You don't think so?
No, I think he's going to LeBron it. He's going to make his way out west where he can surf. And
you think he'll go to L.A.?
Or Vegas.
Charging. Vegas, I could see. Just because it's Vegas. And it'll be a big name and a big draw.
You know what stat I heard today?
What's that?
David Carr.
Timeout
tidbit. David Carr has the second worst win percentage for a quarterback in his first 6 years. Do you know who has the worst? His brother.
It's genetic. It's genetic. Were they both Chargers? Chargering. Anyway, onward
just
and upward.
So we can throw in Chargering.
Yeah. No, I still think Carolina, because of their offensive weapons, they still have some decent secondary and arguably the best middle linebacker in the league in Kuechly. They need a couple little pieces here and there, and they got some cap space. Go get it on defense. I think they could be a snap your fingers, win now, get in the playoffs kind of deal, especially with their division having some issues. You know? So anyway, that one to me is, like I said, it's the most appealing. I don't know who's going to end up with it, but I think McDaniels might basically get to pick between them and the Browns.
I'd stay as far away from the Browns as you possibly can. They're cursed, man. They're cursed.
Well,
because they're not really the Browns.
They're not really the Browns.
The real Browns doing pretty good, though.
Yeah, they are. But I don't know. I honestly, I think between the Browns and Carolina, McDaniels has got to get one of those jobs. He's got to get one of those jobs.
I really thought he was going to get the Cowboys
They're
job.
basically his to lose. I think that comes down to control. And I don't think McDaniels
I heard that's
wants
why
to go back to the head coaching ranks without some semblance of control.
That's why he pulled out of the Indianapolis thing.
Right. But at the same time, does McDaniels deserve control? Because when he had a little in Denver, my Denver Broncos, he picked Jesus 2.0.
You went the Matt Dunnigan method. Give him the keys to the Ferrari.
Yeah. Or the Pope Mobile. But anyway, Yeah, I think it's McDaniels to lose, but the Rams are apparently also not bringing back Wade Phillips.
They fired him today, yeah.
Yeah. What the hell? Now, it's all on the Wonder Kid now.
Well, it wasn't was it really the defense's problem?
No, it wasn't, because you want to...
Because their offense sucked.
Timeout tidbit. Their defense gave up 20 less points this year than they did last year. How do you get fired when you gave up less points? Isn't that your job as a defensive coordinator? Give up less points?
It's called passing the buck.
It's all on the Wonder Boy now. McVay better deliver. But anyway, I can't figure out why he was fired. And now you get a guy like him who's out there.
Does he retire or does he?
Oh, I think son of Bum wants to come back.
72, eh?
Yeah, but he's effective. He knows his stuff, right? I mean, look at Romeo Crennel with the Texans. He knows his stuff. Does he always have the right ingredients? Maybe not. There's deficiencies, but a veteran guy like that knows how to cover for some of those sometimes too, right? So you look at a place like I mentioned, Carolina. If you're a guy like McDaniels, you walk in, you got to worry about one side of the ball, your side of the ball. Hiring a guy like Phillips would take care of the other. Mm-hmm. I think, I would go after him if it was me. Because even for the short term,
for sure,
he's still gonna get the job done. So anyway, enough about coaches. They're hired to be fired.
Yeah.
Anyway, last week we were picking who in the wild card round we liked.
I think I picked mostly home teams.
We had a couple similarities. One was New Orleans. We both thought they would win, and we're both wrong. Damn. Anyway.
Sometimes I like being wrong, especially when it means the Patriots are done.
The Patriots are done. And I called it, I don't want to brag, but goddamn, I was awesome. I picked Tennessee to win, and they're just a better team. They're a better team. And as much as Tannehill had better numbers and a better stretch run than Brady, he didn't look too good in that game, but he didn't need to.
Nope.
When Bill Belichick, usually when Bill Belichick can make a defense or make an offense one-dimensional, it's over. He gets you. He beats you. Now explain to me why Tom Brady is he's in a first and goal situation in that game, and you don't call a pass play. It's the opposite of the Seahawks, man. Right? Run, done. Why didn't they play action something? It was baffling. And it shows you, and this is just me, but it shows you they don't trust Tom Brady. He's been playing that bad, and they see it on tape. And Bill's a master at, well, maybe debatable for another date, but...
A master debater?
Easy now. Stamps fan. Anyway, no, but I mean, they saw something obviously that he wasn't clicking, and they took the ball out of his hands at a crucial moment. So I think as far as Belichick is concerned,
he was done with Brady.
He's done with him. And Robert Kraft saying, well, I hope and pray that he comes back. And it's like,
only one of
you just want him to come back, so you have somebody to visit you when you're in jail for the rub and tugs. Right? He considers him a son. Well, who else visits you in prison? He probably won't go to jail, but it's funny to think he's in jail. But anyway, yeah. Brady was not trusted, and it showed some true colors of what they really think of him now in at this point in his career. And it I think they're going to let him go because he just doesn't have
He's 100% done in New England.
There's all kinds of talk about, he didn't have the weapons. He's done a lot of stuff there, and he didn't have premier weapons. Was it the worst ever? Well, maybe. But it wasn't a whole lot different than some of the other skill position groups he had in the past where he got it done. So I think he's done. He's on the decline. Noticeably on the decline.
Would you just retire? Or?
He won't retire. He doesn't
I know
want
he
to
won't,
retire.
but would you?
Me?
Yeah.
It's hard to put yourself in that situation.
Because hardly any of them do, right?
You want to do it because you love to do it. He's healthy by all accounts. Mentally, Steve Young said mentally the game was super easy.
Right.
He just couldn't do anything else with it, right? That's why he retired. So, I mean, health-wise, he's okay. But I think your ego's pretty big when you win that many Super Bowls, too.
True.
So admitting to yourself more than anything else is going to be the hardest part, to say, yeah, I don't have it anymore. He won't retire.
Don't you, as the Patriots, though, want to make sure you have the next guy before you let the guy go?
Bills won with Jacoby Brissett for a stretch. He's won with Brian Hoyer for a stretch. He won a division with Matt Castle.
Yeah. He lost in the wild card this year with Tom Brady. I think he could go out and grab
himself a mediocre quarterback, and there's going to be enough of them out there. He could eke together a 500 season.
I guess we'll find out, won't we?
We'll find out. But I think Belichick is slipping too.
I think so.
Yeah. But that might be another discussion for another day.
Yeah. We've already talked too much about coaches. Okay. The other game.
But
Houston.
Yeah. Whoa. Say it again. I was right. Did you say that yet? Okay.
Sure.
Anyway,
I don't right about Tennessee.
I don't hear it at home, much like most of the average Joes out there.
I'll be your right guy.
Okay. Anyway, Houston beats Buffalo, and I picked Buffalo, and you picked Houston.
I thought it was going to be a close game, though. That was a good one.
The Bills had them.
They did.
And they blew it. I'm a little choked. But at the same time, I've always liked Deshaun Watson. He was a stud in college at Clemson.
Tale of two halves.
He's a winner. He's a winner. And that last play just shows you what he will do to get it done. It was very, for all the Rider fans out there, very Darian Durant-ish.
Thinking that myself.
Take the shots, but make the plays. You know? So, yep. and the funny part
Double D will like that.
Yeah, well, hopefully we love him. So,
Deshaun Watson.
Throwing it to your third running back on the depth chart, though, too, and making that big gain, that's pretty cool. By any means necessary. I was really, really happy. They're the one team that worries me, though, if I'm playing against them, because they could beat anybody. They could also implode and do nothing.
Yeah.
They are truly the wild card of all wild cards.
Yep.
But how'd you feel about your boy Kirk Cousins getting the big monkey off his back?
How do you like me now?
How do you like me?
Well, I was actually pulling for Minnesota.
You heard that here.
Only because I, for some reason, thought New Orleans was better than they certainly looked.
They only have two guys to pass to.
But
you're going to regret saying that about your Packers.
We
both picked New Orleans,
I hope so.
though.
I just thought, I didn't think Cousins could do it. And it wasn't really...
We both picked based on quarterback play, I think, is essentially it.
And one played like Kirk Cousins, and it wasn't Kirk Cousins.
Well, I think they have a better top-to-bottom roster, and maybe Cousins is pulling a Joe Flacco here a little bit in the fact that he's getting hot at the right time. He has been streaky in the past. Even this past season, he had a 6-game stretch where you're like, wow, he's killing it.
We'll
the
see.
Weapons are there.
We'll see when Bosa's up his ass.
You like that?
How do you like that? You like me now?
Anyway, moving on to the next matchup. This is getting a little R-rated. You said Seattle. I said Philly. In Philly. I should have put a little asterisk beside if the starting quarterback plays. Josh McCown filled in admirably, crying after the game. First playoff game he's ever played in.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought he played well for
the situation. Yeah. And they weren't right out of it either, but DK Metcalf, 7 for 160 and a touchdown.
That guy's a freak.
He's an animal. How many teams are pissed that they passed on him? Third round pick?
So 40.
Third round pick. Yeah. Even Seattle passed on him once or twice. So, whew.
Yeah, it's a hell of a pickup.
It's a spooky concept, but I don't think Seattle keeps going.
Well,
Maybe that we get into the rest of our picks
I
here.
hope not, but I was actually, even though I picked Seattle to win just because of the Russell Wilson factor, I was cheering for the Eagles only because I thought it was an easier matchup for the Packers, but...
Fair enough. Always thinking of your team, I guess. Just a
Stampeders.
Just a bit of a homer. I have a horn on my phone. Homer horn. I should blast that for you guys. Anyway, divisional rounds coming up. We got the 1 seed Baltimore, Tennessee.
It's gonna be a hell of a game.
Are we gonna pull like we did with New Orleans and be like,
no,
it's obviously gonna be?
No, I actually think Tennessee could win that game. I think that the Ravens could be ripe for the picking.
Are you gonna put your?
Sure.
You're going Tennessee?
I'll pick Tennessee.
You're gonna get it.
I'll take the.
Baltimore hasn't lost since week 4.
I know, but young quarterback. I'm just.
When you guys went outside, Matt, did he slip and hit his head?
I hit it yesterday.
Oh.
No, just kidding. No.
Okay.
What the hell?
All right. You want to get on the Tennessee bandwagon?
Sure.
Well, I'm getting off. It's Baltimore.
It's probably Baltimore.
You pick New Orleans. You have to find a new team now. Well, maybe not.
No, it's easy. It's the Packers.
It's the Packers. You said New Orleans, folks, before.
I did. I actually thought it was. I thought it was finally their year, but I guess pass interference is going to be their nemesis.
He likes these teams that have 2 guys to throw to.
Pass interference.
What
is it? Huh. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
Getting monkeys off of Kirk Cousins' back. Anyway,
and on
speaking of monkeys off of backs, no, just kidding. I was going to go somewhere really bad with that. But anyway, Tennessee, Kyle's picking them. I'm picking Baltimore. I said I think Baltimore wins the whole damn kit and caboodle.
Well, that's what the odds makers would say, and they said same thing about Kansas City last year.
I just don't know how you match up against Lamar, and they have a solid defense.
What if Carson Wentz's it, and he's out in the first quarter?
Then all bets are off. But any team that's left, who can handle their quarterback going out?
Tennessee.
Okay. Point taken. Jerk. Anyway. What's wrong with Robert Griffin? Griffin the third.
He hasn't played since 2015.
He played in
2013. Did they win? I didn't watch it.
He played. RG3.
Do you even know what the score was?
No, I don't know what the score was offhand. But he could win him a game.
Sure he could.
Sure he could.
Who
would you trust, Mariota or RG3?
Mariota. Barely.
He bumped his damn head. He bumped his head. Anyway, moving on. No more.
Texans, Chiefs.
I said you can't really predict what the Texans are going to do. And I think out of all of these games, if there's an upset, Houston's it.
Well, they did beat them the last time they met.
Casey's the 2 seed, but Mahomes is rank. But I don't know. I don't trust their defense, even though they've made statistical gains from last year.
I don't trust Andy Reid in the playoffs.
You don't trust Andy Reid in the playoffs. I thought you were going to go KC because Andy Reid was a former Green Bay Packer dude and all that jazz, but...
Brett Favre's retired.
Yes, no Brett Favre. Okay, fair enough. So we're both on the Texans wagon.
I think I'm going to pick...
You're going to go Deshaun Watson?
I'm going to pick away teams this week because I didn't do well with home teams last week.
Well, fair enough. I'll let it slide.
I'll be all wrong again this week.
So you're going with away teams?
No, not over here.
I think he just picked Minnesota over San Fran.
No. NFC, it's 1-2s.
Okay.
The home teams are winning both those games.
Okay.
Cousins' luck's going to run out.
It's in San Fran, and that's a tough place to play. And I'm fairly certain they've got their entire D-line rotation, or most of it, healthy. So if they can get pressure with 4, I don't see how Minnesota wins.
But isn't Minnesota such a different team with Cook in the lineup?
Oh, for sure they are.
Holy cow.
For sure.
What a different team.
It's protection. It's changes what lines up in the box. It changes the blitzes. It changes a lot. But you have to respect the weapons on the outside. So it's sort of a pick your poison.
Right. Certainly a lot more when you have Cook back there.
Right. So, I don't know. I'm not saying it can't be done.
That doesn't make me a closet Vikings fan.
Okay. Anyway.
I don't hear us talking about your team. Who are they again?
Whoa. Pump the brakes. We're rebuilding.
Yeah, I don't think Minnesota has a chance.
Yeah. If Cousins gets hot and stuff, it'll be an interesting game.
Pick 6, Richard Sherman.
Do you think Jimmy Garoppolo can be...
Yeah.
He had a couple of real dud games this year.
He had them. They're done. Pretty Boy's going to win.
Okay.
And then the Packers are going to go out to sunny California where Rodgers feels at home and show the Pretty Boy that the Sheriff's still...
He's going to make them pay for not picking him first overall.
Exactly.
Baggage.
Broke a little boy's heart that day.
Little baggage. Anyway, okay, fair enough. I'm going San Fran. You're going San Fran. Matt's going San Fran. Matt, you got a tattoo of San Fran on you?
No, but I'm wearing my jersey.
I know he's wearing a Jeff Garcia jersey, and it is epic cool.
It's epic wore out. It's so cool. It's like a vintage guitar.
It's very old.
It's like Kyle's Beggleton jersey. It's been slept in probably.
It's been Beggletoned.
Anyway, we're moving into the Seattle Green Bay game.
Well, I'm going for the Pack, man.
Yeah.
I hate the Seahawks.
I really
But I'm scared.
You're scared?
I'm always scared playing those goddamn Seahawks.
Well, pay the refs enough. Worked for the Patriots for a lot of years.
Gonna have to try that.
Yeah, try it. Or videotape their practice.
Of Russell Wilson just running around.
No, Russell.
Oh, look!
It's just Russell Wilson praying. That's all.
It's Russell Wilson's bird.
Anyway, Seattle, Green Bay. You're picking Green Bay. I don't think Seattle can against the Green Bay defense. I don't think they can do anything other than lob it up to Metcalf. They could not run the ball last game.
Packers DBs are better.
Packers DBs are better, but I mean they can.
Shot.
I think they can double both guys, Lockett and Metcalf, and just say, "I dare you to run the ball." And by all reports, they figure that Beast Mode's going to get more touches, but he averaged 1.2 yards, 1.3 yards a touch, and Homer was no different.
Yeah, Homer didn't look as good this week.
Homer played like a Homer.
Yeah, played like a young guy.
So, where are you? What does that leave you? If you can't run the ball in Green Bay, in the cold, you're done.
It's still Russell Wilson. That guy scares me. That guy scares me. He's like the Packers' kryptonite.
Quit being a chicken.
Just don't like him. I like him, but I don't like him.
I don't think. I hate to tell Seattle fans, but I don't think that you're getting anywhere. So, anyway. Also, timeout tidbit. Who's the highest rated passer in the NFL this last season?
Highest rated passer.
What would your first guess be?
Probably Drew Brees.
Drew Brees? Very close. It was Ryan Tannehill. So you picking the Titans isn't as crazy as it sounds.
That's a good tidbit.
It's a quarterback rating of 117.5.
Well,
hard to bet against a guy with that rating.
Sometimes
and he went
that guy
in
just needs out of
week
Miami.
6? I think it was week 4 or 6, something like that. But he did play well. So I think if he gets a little room, they overcompensate with stopping Mr. Henry. Oh, Henry.
That guy's a beast.
He's
the real beast mode.
He's the real. Right now, yeah, he's the next beast mode. So hopefully he can have a 117.5 5 day or better, and you can beat me up on that one. And one more little point of consideration. We talked a little bit about the Patriots. One more tidbit. Since week 9 in the AFC East, for anybody who didn't like me saying that Tom Brady was done, he's done, and I'm going to prove it. Okay? Since week 9 in the AFC East, the Jets were 6-3. I don't like Adam Gase, but 6-3. Right?
Yep.
The Dolphins, who are tanking for Tua, all that jazz.
Till Fitzmagic.
Yeah. 5-4. Okay? And the Bills, playoff team Bills, came out hot. They faded 5-5. The New England Patriots since week 9 are 4-5. And down the stretch, and all you fantasy football guys know, that last half of the season gets brought up a lot when guys are guesstimating and prognosticating about how a guy's going to do next year. How's Tom Brady going to do next year? How are the Patriots going to do next year, even if they bring everyone back when they were 4-5 down the stretch next year? They're not a playoff team if everyone comes back.
Nope.
So if you didn't hate me for saying Tom Brady is done, you can send all your fan mail, put it in the comments. I don't care. I'm going to live, breathe, and die with my comments. But Tom Brady's done. 4-5.
No, Tom Brady is done.
He is done. And so is our podcast, thinking.
That was a pretty good episode.
Yeah, it was all right. It was all good. It's always fun. Just a good chat.
Good chat.
We're a little more relaxed.
Yeah.
More chill.
Chill as can be. And above average.
And yes, above average.
All right. Thanks for listening this week, and we'll catch you next week. This is Above Average Joe's podcast. I'm Kyle.
I'm Heath.
And Matt back in the bunker. We'll talk to you later.
Laters.